Hi everyone, welcome to Korean Express YouTube channel. Have you ever wanted to ask someone, how do I get to the airport? Or who is that person? Or how big is that house? Or how much does this cost? In Korean language, these are some of the most common questions you'll use in everyday conversations while learning Korean language. And in this video, you are going to learn exactly how to ask them. In the previous parts of the series, we learned how to ask questions in Korean using tone, using different question endings, and also we have learned 4 essential question words: what, where, when, and why in Korean language. So, if you've not watched all those previous videos of mine on how to ask questions in Korean using these different ways, then don't worry, I'll share the link of the playlist consisting of all those videos in the description of this video so that it becomes easier for you to have an access to all those videos. And believe me, they are really going to help you enhance your question asking ability in Korean. Now, it's time to continue building our question vocabulary. So in this lesson, we learn 4 more useful question words in Korean. 어떻게, which means how, 누구, which means who, 얼마나, which means how much or how long, and 얼마, which again means how much. So, don't get confused. We are going to understand each and every word in detail. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Now, before we begin, a very quick note. Even after this lesson, there are still a few important Korean question words left to learn. So we'll cover those in the upcoming part of the series. So by the end, you will have a solid understanding of most commonly used question words in Korean. So for now, let's focus on 4 very important Korean question words. So the first question word is 어떻게. 어떻게, which means how in Korean. It is used with verbs to ask how an action is performed. This question word is very easy to use and the meaning is very simple: how. So in other words, when you want to ask how someone does something or how someone did something or how someone will do something, in all of these 3 tenses, you use 어떻게 to ask such kind of question. So it is used to ask about the method or way or process of doing something, how an action is performed. Very simple. Now we are going to take a look at some example sentences to understand how to use 어떻게 in Korean sentences. Okay? So, first example. Imagine there are 2 people, A and B, and they're having a conversation. So person A says, 저는 피자를 만들 거예요. I will make pizza. So person B then asks, 어떻게? How? How will you make pizza? Okay? So basically he could be asking about what ingredients are you going to use, or what is your process, the method that you use for making pizza. So it could be anything. So here I want to emphasize that 어떻게 itself is a question. Okay? How? 어떻게? Okay? I hope you understand. Next. 한국어를 어떻게 배웠어요? How did you learn Korean? Korean is 한국어, the language. How is 어떻게? To learn, 배우다, past tense, 배웠어요. So, very simple to frame a question. Okay. Next. 공항에 어떻게 가요? How do I get to the airport? Airport is 공항. To go 가다, present tense conjugation 가요. So how do I get to the airport, or how do I go to the airport? Maybe that person is asking about the route for going to an airport, or what are the public transportation systems available to reach the airport. It could be anything, depending on the conversation, on the context. You just need to focus on framing a question using 어떻게. Alright? Next example. 그것을 어떻게 했어요? How did you do that? So you're asking a very simple question to someone. Someone did something and you are confused at how that person did that. Okay? So that in Korean is 그것을. 그것 means that in Korean. How, 어떻게, and to do, 하다, past tense, 했어요, did. Alright? This is very simple. Once you know the word, once you know how to frame a question, it becomes very simple to use this word in Korean sentences and frame questions using 어떻게. Alright? Next comes another very important Korean question word, 누구. 누구, which means who in Korean. So the word for who in Korean is 누구. Now, 누구 can be used as a subject in a sentence, and in this case, it is commonly combined with the subject particle ka. And after the combination, it changes into 누가. From 누구 to 누가. Whenever 누구 is the subject in the sentence. Okay, remember this. And it can also be used as an object in the sentence. So here the object particle lir is attached, forming 누구를. Okay, you can obviously you can omit the object particle, but this is the most accurate way to use 누구 in the form of an object in the sentence by attaching the object particle to it. In daily conversations, it is okay if you remove the object particle, but you should know that we can use lir with 누구. Okay? Also, 누구 is used with ida when asking who someone is. Okay, when you're asking who someone is, who is that person? So you use 누구 with ida. So basically, 누구 can be used in three ways in a sentence. It can act as a subject or an object, and it can be used with ida. Don't worry, I know it looks confusing. The theoretical part is definitely confusing, but we are going to look at the example sentences, and then it will be very easy for you to understand how to use 누구 in sentences. So, the first example. 누가 내일 공원에 갈 거예요? Who will go to the park tomorrow? So here, you can see that who is the subject in the sentence. And therefore, we have used 누가. Okay? Tomorrow is 내일. Park, 공원. To go is 가다, future tense, 갈 거예요. Okay, so if you have to ask who is going to the park tomorrow, you can use the word 누가 for who and frame the sentence very easily. 누가 내일 공원에 갈 거예요? Next, 월요일에 누구를 만났어요? Who did you meet on Monday? Monday is 월요일. To meet, 만나다, past tense 만났어요. Now here, you can see that who is the object in the sentence and you are the subject. Okay, you can very easily understand it with the help of this English translation. So, 누구 is the object, and therefore we have attached the object particle with 누구, 누구를. Alright? Next example. 저 사람은 누구야? Who is that person? That is 저, person is 사람. Now you are asking who is that person. So you have to use ida with 누구. And therefore it becomes 누구야 in the casual form of conjugation. Remember this. In informal form of conjugation it becomes 누구예요? Okay? I hope you understand this much. Next. 누가 문을 열었어요? Who opened the door? 누가 is the subject. Door, 문. To open, 열다, past tense, 열었어요. So, who is the subject and therefore we have used 누가. So, I hope you understand now how to use the Korean question word 누구, which means who in Korean, while asking different questions. Alright? Next comes a very important Korean question word, and that is 얼마나. 얼마나. It can have 3 different meanings depending on the context. 얼마나 can mean how, or how much, or how long. Now we'll see how this happens. So, 얼마나 can mean how much, or how long, depending on the context. It is used with verbs, adjectives, and adverbs to ask about the degree or the amount or frequency or extent of something. To what extent something is happening or something is. For that we use 얼마나. So when it is used with an adjective or an adverb, it means how. Asking about the degree or the extent of something. Okay, so whenever 얼마나 is used with an adjective or an adverb, it means how. We'll see through the example sentences how this is going to work. And when used with verb, 얼마나 means how much or how long, to ask about the amount or the extent of an action. So now, without stressing a lot, without thinking how we are going to use 얼마나, let's take a look at example sentences to understand how to use 얼마나 with adjectives or adverbs. Then we are going to talk about using 얼마나 with verbs. So first, let's talk about using 얼마나 with adverbs and adjectives. So here comes the first example. 도서관에 얼마나 자주 가요? How often do you go to the library? Library is 도서관. To go, 가다, present tense conjugation, 가요. Often in Korean is 자주. So, how often do you go? 얼마나 자주 가요? Here, often is an adverb, and when using 얼마나 with an adverb, it means how. Okay? To what extent or what is your frequency of going to the library? Okay, I hope you understand how we are going to frame a question using 얼마나 when it is combined with adverbs. Next, 저 집은 얼마나 커요? How big is that house? 저 집, that house. To be big, 크다, present tense conjugation, 커요. How big? 얼마나 커요? Here we are using 얼마나 with adjective, and therefore it is translated in English as how. Now let's see how to use 얼마나 with verbs. 잡지를 얼마나 만들었어요? How much 잡지 did you make? 잡지 is a Korean noodle dish. To make, 만들다, past tense 만들었어요. Now, how much did you make? 얼마나 만들었어요? Here we are using 얼마나 with a verb, and therefore it is translated as how much. Okay, what is the amount, the quantity of 잡지 did you make? Alright? Next. 운동을 얼마나 할 거예요? How much are you going to exercise? 운동, exercise. So, to do exercise. 하다, future tense, 할 거예요. How much are you going to exercise? 운동을 얼마나 할 거예요? So here 얼마나 is how much. So this is very simple. You can now understand how to use 얼마나 with adverbs, with adjectives, or with verbs. Now, let's talk about the special case, or I should say a very important note. You can use 많이, which means a lot or much or many, together with 얼마나. Okay, 많이 means a lot or much or many. We know this. So you can use it with 얼마나. So for example, 잡지를 얼마나 많이 만들었어요? How much 잡지 did you make? Here, the English translation, it remains the same. Okay, as we have seen just right now in the previous examples. So the English translation you can see is same, whether you are using 많이 with 얼마나 or not. But adding 많이, it emphasizes the amount, suggesting that we are asking about whether the amount was a lot or little, and it makes the question more specific. Okay, so this is the purpose of using 많이 with 얼마나. 얼마나 많이 만들었어요? How much did you make? So you basically are asking about the quantity, the amount. Okay? Similarly, 운동을 얼마나 많이 할 거예요? How much are you going to exercise? Okay? So this is how we use 많이 with 얼마나. And if you specifically want to ask about the duration of an activity, you can use 오래, which means for a long time, with 얼마나. So here, 운동을 얼마나 오래 할 거예요? How long are you going to exercise? So here, you are asking the duration that the person is going to exercise for. How long? For what period of time you are going to exercise? 얼마나 오래. 오래 means for a long time in Korean. So when you combine 얼마나 with 오래, you're asking how long. Okay, so I hope you understand now when 얼마나 means how, when it means how much, and when it means how long. Okay, and also remember that you can use 많이 with 얼마나 as well as 오래 with 얼마나. Now, let's talk about a very important note. The difference between 어떻게 and 얼마나. So, while I was learning question words in Korean language, the first thing that came in my mind when I was learning these two question words, that if both of them, they can be translated as how in English, then what is the difference between them? And how will I identify when to use which question word to mean how? So, although both of these words, they can be translated as how in English, but they are used to ask about different things. 어떻게 asks about the way or method in which an action is performed. In other words, how you do something. Alright? Whereas 얼마나 asks about the degree, the amount or frequency or the extent of something. To what extent something happens. For that, you use 얼마나. So let's take a look at this very simple example to understand the difference. 도서관에 어떻게 가요? How do you go to the library? Here you are asking about the way or the method. You go by bus or you go by subway or you go on foot. How do you go to the library? 도서관에 어떻게 가요? So here 어떻게 is used when you have to ask how you do something. Okay? And 도서관에 얼마나 자주 가요? How often do you go to the library? Here you are asking about the frequency. You go every day, or you go once a week, or you go rarely. So you are asking about the extent, the frequency of you going to the library. Okay? So this is the difference between 어떻게 and 얼마나. I hope you understand this. I hope you get the difference. Still, if you're confused, then don't worry. With time and with practice, you'll be able to identify when to use which question word. Now comes the last question word of this video. 얼마. 얼마, which means how much. It looks similar to 얼마나, but it carries a different meaning. This how much is different than the one that we used for 얼마나. Okay, let's see. So 얼마 means how much in Korean, and it is mainly used when asking about the price or the cost of something. Okay, so basically when you want to ask the cost of something, you use 얼마, and therefore it is commonly used with 이다 whenever you're asking how much something costs. Let's take a look at the examples. 이거 얼마예요? How much is this? 이거. 이거 is the shortened form of 이것, which means this in Korean. And here we have combined 얼마 with 이다. 얼마예요? To ask how much is this thing? What is the cost of this thing? 저 드레스가 얼마예요? How much is that dress? That dress, 저 드레스. So you're asking the cost or the price of a dress. Next, 입장료가 얼마예요? How much is the admission fee? Here you're asking the amount, the fee, the admission fee for anything, for the entrance into a university or a school, anything. So you're asking about the admission fee. How much? What is the cost? How much amount you have to pay? So whenever you are asking how much something costs, you use 얼마. Alright? So in this video, we learned some of the most common Korean question words. But as I said in the beginning, we are not done yet. There are still several important question words left to learn. So in the next part of the series, we'll continue exploring Korean question words and learn how to use them naturally in real conversations. So I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe Korean Express YouTube channel. See you in the next lesson. Thank you.